I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with author Gerald McIsaac. He is the writer who has put together a fantastic book. It is called The Dictatorship of the Proletariat. It is a thought-provoking work decrying the unchecked power of monopoly capitalists, whom he views as driving civilization into the ground. We are delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Gerald, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
My pleasure, Logan.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. For the folks at home who might not be familiar with the term proletariat, what do you mean? Working class, middle class person, poor person? How do you define the proletariat?
A proletariat is a working class person, someone who works for wages, by the hour, wages. That is the scientific term for a proletariat.
Yeah, which I think most Americans are. Most Americans are hardworking people who punch a clock, who get paid by the hour. And what do you mean by the title, The Dictatorship of the Proletariat?
Well, it's if Marx and Lenin were scientific socialists, scientific. Now, they maintain that capitalism gives rise to socialism. And the fundamental tenet of Marxism is that the only way socialism can succeed is by first overthrowing the monopoly capitalists. They are technically called the bourgeoisie. I call them multi-billionaires. Then the existing state apparatus has to be smashed and replaced with a working class, a proletarian state apparatus to keep the capitalists from returning to power, as happened in the Soviet Union and in China. Those people do not give up.
Yeah, absolutely. In your book, it's kind of a call to arms. You believe apparently that there needs to be a revolution led by the proletariat to undo some of these forces and pave the way for more of a scientific socialism. Is that your theme? Tell us a little bit about what you're calling for with this book.
Americans are most fortunate because Americans have the right to overthrow any government which does not represent you. Your founding fathers have given you that right. I am green with envy. And the billionaires do not pay taxes. People, vast majority of people, working people, are desperate, living paycheck to paycheck at best. That class of people, the billionaires, has to be overthrown. And so what is needed is to get well organized, trained, and as a result of revolutionary motion, councils appear. The Russian word for council is Soviet. They appear at the time of any revolution. These councils have appeared. The most famous was the one in Seattle, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, run by a council, which was a mistake to declare itself autonomous. It was immediately crushed. But the councils have taken shape. I suggest all Americans join them, receive training for the insurrection, equipment and training in preparation for the insurrection. And if the insurrection is properly organized, planned, carried out, it will be almost bloodless. Like the October Revolution in Russia, 1917, well organized, well led, proper leaders, was almost bloodless. That's the key, as opposed to the so-called insurrection of January 6th. That was a mob, a disorganized mob, had no goals, they were just a mob. That is not an insurrection.
Yeah.
And breaking a window and knocking a cop down, if that's their idea of an insurrection, they're about to receive a rude shock.
So your vision is that enough people rise up that it's basically overwhelming force, that the police and the soldiers might just lay down their arms and not resist. In fact, the police and the soldiers, who are also part of the proletariat, might actually join in this revolution that you envision, right?
That's exactly what happens. Now, I realize there are a great many people who are skeptical. I respect their belief. So for those people, I say, take the capitalists at their word. They say if we do not like the system, we should change it from within. I say, excellent. I say, all Americans, young and old, students, seniors, employed, unemployed, homeless, join the two parties, Democrat and Republican, as card-carrying members. It's the card-carrying members that determine the candidate for each and every political office. So join the parties, put your own candidates up for office, and see what happens. I guarantee people will find out the billionaires are in charge, and they fully intend to remain in charge. And with experience, people will learn this for themselves, that there's no way to change the system from within. You're not going to allow it. Experience, let them find out, let everyone find out for themselves. Meantime, by all means, join all the councils that are spontaneously taking shape and receive training, equipment and training, which includes helmets and gas masks, paintballs, paintball guns, bulletproof vests. I recommend slingshots. Practice with those slingshots. The paintballs can be used to cover the visors of the riot squad, so they have to lift the visors. And the slingshots are handy also against dogs and horses. The marbles will not hurt a horse, but pretty well guarantee that horse will give the cowboy flying lessons. We want to neutralize. As for the water cannons, I say pipes, those wrenches for opening pipes, pipe wrenches, open up the fire hydrants. So that way the water cannons get their water from the fire hydrants. And if all the hydrants are open, the water pressure drops down to zero. There's no water for the water cannons. These are peaceful methods and I guarantee you, you are so right, the police are working class, just as the soldiers are working class, and once they faced with their own people saying, join us, and that's exactly what I am saying, police, military, join us. You have a bright future under socialism, just as the middle class people, small business owners, have a bright future under socialism. The monopoly capitalists, the billionaires, incredibly, they just laid down the law. Any bank, any company with assets of less than $500 billion is too small to succeed.
Amazing.
They say it right straight out. That leaves a handful of banks and corporations, and the rest of those middle class people, if they haven't joined the working class already, they soon will. So I say, welcome, my brothers and sisters. Welcome, my comrades. After the revolution, we need people like that, people who can run a business. Because I'm a working man, I can run a machine, yes, and I do, but I cannot run a business. I recognize my limitations. But after the revolution, we're going to need highly skilled people, including business managers, who can run a business properly. Guys like me, I can run it into the ground all right. That's not what we want. Same with professional people, scientists and technicians. Yes, you have a future. building the country, and that a lot of building has to go on. The damage, the infrastructure is falling apart. We're going, and 3 banks have already failed. From my viewpoint, big banks, but they do not have assets of $500 billion. They're gone. And Janet Yellen and the Fed put $110 billion into those banks. That's gone. I'm suspicious. I kind of think that money she gave to those banks was the money that was put aside for insuring the first $250,000 of all deposits. It came from somewhere and it's gone now. So I doubt that the first $250,000 of all deposits is even insured. But the rest of the banks are on the edge. We are looking at a second Great Depression. And this second Great Depression, I guarantee you, will be far more intense than the first Great Depression, unless they are stopped. We have got to stop them. Calls for revolution.
What's your time frame for this revolution? Do you think it's going to happen within the next 6 months, the next 6 years, the next 60 years? When do you see this happening?
Very soon. I think the capitalists, the multi-billionaires, are going to force the issue. It's going to take place. I can't give an exact time, but I have great faith in the billionaires. They are busy destroying, wiping out the middle class. The small banks, 4,800 banks are too small to succeed. Possibly tens of thousands of businesses are too small to succeed. Only a handful of banks and businesses will survive, and if need be, at taxpayer expense. That's what they do.
Is Donald Trump a good billionaire or a bad billionaire, in your opinion? And do you think that the government of the United States is trying to lynch him, if you will, through using prosecutors and investigations and so forth?
Donald Trump is not a good billionaire, nor is he a bad billionaire. He is a typical billionaire. He determined not to pay taxes, he is exceptional in that he is a leader. I say, yes, there are other leaders I can think of. I'm sure the audience is familiar with Jesse James, Billy the Kid, Cole Younger, Wes Hardin, Machine Gun Kelly, Babyface Nelson, Scarface Al Capone, Sammy the Bull, John Gotti. These were all leaders. Say what you want about them, they are leaders, just as Trump is a leader. And just as people followed those other leaders, where did they follow them? To prison, to the grave, to the gallows. So many people are following Donald Trump, a leader, to disaster. And he is what I call a loose cannon. He is a billionaire, but he is not playing by the rules of his class, his own people. Other billionaires want him gone.
Yeah.
Because they see him as a loose cannon. He's too ambitious. He wants to be president. That's not what they want. They want him gone, and they will make sure he is gone.
And he's also lifting the veil on billionaires. He is saying straightforward, I don't pay any taxes. She doesn't pay any taxes. And that's the point. So he's lifted the veil that's angered a lot of people in power, no doubt. And you're lifting the veil on a lot of misdeeds and wrongdoings in the country as well. The name of this book is The Dictatorship of the Proletariat. It is a thought-provoking work that will make you change the way you view America and will make you change the way you view our government. It is written by Gerald McIsaac. He's been our guest today. And in just a couple more weeks, he'll be back again with more interesting information, exciting information, vital information about this revolution that he is predicting. Gerald, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.